The United States has three major political parties. Mistakenly, and this is my opinion, it is reduced to two major parties, being the Democrats and Republicans. But when you look at the numbers of voting age peoples, the turnout is usually for a presidential election, is usually 50 some odd percent, approaches 60% a lot of the times, but it's usually 50 some odd percent, 60 at best usually, or it could be a little bit over 60%. So that leaves 40% of the voting age population in terms of presidential election that doesn't vote, that doesn't get out there to vote for whatever reason. Could be a bevy of reasons. Some could say it's reasons of paperwork, people not being motivated, disillusioned, things of that nature, candidate not speaking to them. So when you have 40% of the population not voting for whatever reason, that's a party in itself. That's a statement in itself. And some people like to get in saying, well, in terms of registered voters, blah, 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 that come out is a much higher number, almost 90%, and they choose between two major parties. Okay, but why are the other people not registering? And even though, yes, there are rules saying that, hey, you got to do this, you got to do that. But when we talk about voting age population, that includes the people that could have the ability to vote if they got certain paperwork right, were able to get time off. Maybe if there was in the future a voting holiday, or if they didn't have health issues to deal with, etc. Bevy of reasons. But all that being said, it's still 40% of people that just don't go out. And that's a sizable portion. Even if you could take half of them and combine them with pieces, be it Democrat, Republican, even some third party people, you could literally win, literally win an election. Now, obviously, that's going to depend on how it's spread out in terms of electoral college. Are those people concentrated in certain states, certain areas, or are those non-voters spread out? I don't know. I don't have the information, but I like to think there's a pretty decent distribution across the United States of the people that don't vote, and you would have a possibility of winning it all. Electoral college. Now, that being said, it's sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy when everyone says, hey, it's a two-party system, it's a two-party system, it's a two-party system. And people are not looking at the people that don't come out. And especially when you look at midterms, that number hovers in the 40 some odd percent, usually 50 or a little bit over 50% at best. So that's literally half the people that don't vote in the midterms. And that being said, we're not doing for electoral college. You can literally get a third party independent person that could easily win governors, mayors, county councils, etc. as a third party person. People always could get into the issue of spending, but that not being a factor and saying you campaign hard and you can max spend, you could get good traction. I don't think it's limited to the major parties at all. It might take a little bit of grassroots movement at first, be it actually foot to the pavement or the internet, but it's not impossible. It's just people keep saying it is impossible and people buying into it. But a few right people can get it done. And we've seen it before, especially in midterms. You can have independent people getting into office. It's not impossible, but it just tends to be a little bit harder for the presidential election, especially at the highest office being president. But it is not impossible, in my opinion, and not based on any information that I know. So what I'm saying is a self-fulfilling prophecy. No, it's not a two-party system. And there's a lot of people trying to think, oh, well, what are other people going to do? And since they're the big time people we see all the time. Maybe other people don't know about it, and you just keep psyching yourself out, and you're worried about what other people are thinking. And that really, really doesn't matter. And in my opinion, you can't steal votes in a system like this because almost half the country isn't voting. And that are eligible to vote, voting age. So, as in my opinion, there's no such thing as stealing votes. It's like, who gets people motivated to come out? A lot of people think they're voting against somebody, and it is this whole psychological thing that I can barely understand. Is it yay, this person, no, the other person, vote against that and vote against that? But it's not the reality, at least not from the way that I see it. I can easily see a third party, independent person with the right plan of attack and motivating people. They could shake up the world. Definitely believe that could happen. So, like, cool your horses, because when you have those many people not voting, that definitely says something, and that's a large amount of people. That's all I'm saying. But you're not seeing that, and obviously the two major parties are not really going to look at that. They're going to look in terms of, hey, we need some more voter turnout for their particular party, but they're not looking at a statement that's being made, be it voluntary or involuntary, that, hey, almost half our country isn't voting, that's able to vote. What's going on with that? That's a lot of people right there. Because you major parties are really only splitting up 50 to 60% of the vote. That's talking about a general presidential election. So there you have it. Don't psych yourself out. Don't tell me what's impossible or what's not possible. We've seen it back in the day with Ross Perot, and he quit, but he was gaining traction. He was gaining steam, and if he could have stuck through it, maybe he could have did a little something, and that could have been a good starting point, a great catalyst for anybody that want to run independent. Even though you say, yeah, he had the money, he was able to get on TV. I understand that, but at least with the internet and more people being on the internet nowadays, things can be a little more democratic, and you can have a chance to get a stronghold in terms of that. So you're not just relying on hitting the streets and trying to get on TV. You can get a little momentum going online, and then parlay that into maybe showing up on TV, hitting streets in certain places, and people expecting you to come out and you say a few words if you feel the need to. But yeah, don't, in my opinion, don't buy into the hype of two parties. It's actually a 3-party system. People that aren't coming out to vote definitely says something. It definitely makes a statement. Now, what statement does that make? It can vary, but it definitely makes a statement when you have that many people that are not participating, that could technically participate in an election. Just keep that in mind. Don't get caught up in all psychological warfares and what have you, and what these major parties are saying. You use a little common sense and, like, hey, look at these numbers, look at these facts. It doesn't add up. Look at the reality of the situation, and the reality of the situation definitely tells a different tale. It definitely shows another path to victory. Iceberg Jim out. Deuces.